Welcome back to This Week. I'm pleased to be joined by community organizer, nonprofit and business consultant, and candidate for mayor of Nashville, Stephanie Johnson. Welcome. Nice to see you again.
Thank you for having me.
I'm asking all the candidates, as you look at this race and look at this job, you know it's a big job. Why do you want to be mayor? Why do you think you're the right person in this particular time to lead this great city?
Got you. I believe that Nashville is in a very critical place right now where we could go left or right as far as housing, transportation, homelessness. And we need someone that can hear the music off, because the music's off in Music City. And so we need a conductor that can play the symphony right and get the music playing again.
You're the youngest candidate running for mayor of Nashville, and I salute you, and I think young people need to get more involved. With that, with your perspective different from the other candidates, do you have different goals? Do you have a different view on the problems of Nashville?
I do. I feel like we should always go to the community first. I believe that community problems need communal solutions, and I feel like sometimes it comes from the top up instead of the community responding and we responding to the community and doing it their way.
You're on the campaign trail talking to voters. Do voters feel they're being heard? When they talk to the candidates and you talk to them about issues, do they feel once that person gets elected that their views mean something?
No, and I think it's reflected in our numbers when people vote. I think that tells us that they don't feel heard.
Are you surprised about that, especially, and we don't know yet what the voter turnout will be for this election, but it should be big because it's an open seat. We don't know what it will be. What are you anticipating? Hearing from the people on the ground, are they excited about this race? Are they ready for new leadership?
They don't know.
Yeah.
So many people are undecided, and that's why so many people are showing up to listen and to hear. So I think they are hungry for something new and change.
This is a huge field, 12 candidates in this race, 13 candidates in this race, viable candidates, people with great experience, elected officials, business people, community people like yourself who deal with the people one-on-one. A lot of vast experience. Has that made it harder maybe to differentiate for someone to stand out of the crowd?
I think that it pushed us to stand out. And a lot of people are telling me thank you because it's pushing other candidates. Because I'm younger, and so
Sure.
I'm a little less afraid to say what needs to be said sometimes. I haven't been in government for a long time, and so I say what needs to be said, I feel.
They'd like to hear honesty.
They do, yeah.
If you win the mayor's election, you'd be the fourth mayor in 5 years. There's not been a lot of consistency. There's a lot of people out there, as you talk about, who don't trust the system. Voters don't trust politicians as much as maybe they should or used to. What do you say to voters that I'm going to be on your side, you can trust me, I'm going to be here for a while, I'm going to do what you want to be done to run the city correctly?
Yeah. Well, one of my favorite verses is keep your promise even when it's hard. And when I feel like I don't want to do something, I always remember that and step up and do it anyway. Also, if you look at my finances or who's endorsing me, like I don't have those things. All I'm relying on is the vote. And so that's all I owe are the voters who vote for me. That's the only person that I owe.
If you win the election, there are a lot of great things about Nashville, but there's also some issues. We have crime, we have gentrification, we have a need of mass transit. In your first 4 years, if you could only improve or solve one problem, what would that top priority be?
No displacement. No Nashvilleian would be displaced from Nashville, and they would be able to buy groceries, pay rent, have some free time. And so that just brings the lifeblood back to people. And then they want to get involved with politics because they're not working 30 plus hours or 40 plus hours a week to just survive in this town.
How do you achieve that with the cost of living going up in Nashville, the cost of rent, the cost of mortgages going up, the homeless issue sadly growing? That's a tough issue to tackle.
Yeah, you can look at it in different ways. For instance, we can talk about pay. First of all, if we, the government, want the city to pay employees properly, then we have to pay employees properly. If there's people making $10 to $12 an hour, then we can say, hey, you need to raise your rate when our rates are not raised. And so one of my first tasks is to ensure that everyone's pay is elevated. And it's not, you're making 55% more than the lowest employee. It needs to be properly metriced.
Livable wages.
Exactly, yeah.
Stephanie Johnson, mayoral candidate. Stay with us. Our conversation continues when This Week continues. We'll be right back. Welcome back to This Week and our discussion with mayoral candidate Stephanie Johnson. I think Nashville Police Chief John Drake is doing a really fantastic job. He's adding police officers that are needed. He's really trying to address crime, but he's not winning totally. There's increased violence. There's theft of guns from cars. There's youth violence that is increasing, very violent youth violence. Those issues are still haunting him. He's still trying to address them. As mayor, what can you do to help Chief Drake address those problems?
Oh, yeah. So recently I saw the police have a community meeting with a North Nashville community. And their response is that we need the community's help. And so my response is the community wants the police to do it. The police wants the community to step up. So I have to come in the middle and say, hey, we're going to galvanize the community to help the police in these situations. So moving to community police. Cities are paying people to do street work, to go out there, give support to juvenile youth that are causing the problems. And so when a community says, we're in trouble, we immediately respond and help them deal with those issues, whether it's prostitution, drugs, youth violence, all of those things.
When you look at the growing youth violence, and I think that there really has been an effort to try to address it, but it still seems to be growing. Is it a lack of leadership, a lack of mentors, a lack of things, outlets for these young folks to do? What do you think the root problem is for the increase in youth violence?
Well, statistics say political will. Because we have all this power and so many resources, but somebody has to know how to allocate all those things. And so that's a portion of it, a piece of it. And then I've helped a youth organization build an anti-violence organization. And so there's all these organizations that want to help, but they're all spread out. So we have to bring it in.
Join them.
Exactly, and do collaboration.
One of the big issues facing Nashville that I think everybody agrees is that Nashville is behind when it comes to mass transit. We're probably 10 years behind. It's a big problem. It's a big issue. As you look at this issue, is it a Nashville issue? Is it a county-wide issue where we combine with Williamson County, Rutherford County to try to do something? Can you start in East Nashville and grow from there? Looking at the mass transit problem, how would you address it?
Well, first, I want the district council people to speak to the needs inside of their districts. So, for instance, in Madison, they started a 79 bus that stays in Madison, and they take 100 people a day. They're able to go to the grocery store and then back home and then not transfer out and come back in. So let's focus on those needs, but also get people connected to the larger system as well.
When you look at education here in Nashville, it's crucial for anything. Education has to be successful. With the new funding formula, metro schools will get less funding because the funding goes to the student, and every time a student leaves, the funding goes with him. How do you make up for that deficit and keep Nashville schools a viable minority-majority school system?
Yeah, so one of the issues is the state is not fully funding us. And so one of the missing pieces is the communal piece. Not a lot of people know that there's a public process to public funding, and we're not engaging our community properly. And so we need to galvanize the community to say, hey, when those public meetings come up, we're going to be in the state and we're going to push them to give us our full funding.
Involvement and advocacy from parents and students.
PTAs are strong.
30 seconds left. What do you want to say to the voters of Nashville why you should be mayor?
I want to say that if you want a mayor that actually cares about your issues, that is listening to your issues, then I am the person to do that. I'm the person to listen and implement.
Stephanie Johnson, candidate for mayor of Nashville. Appreciate your time and your insight. Good luck with the election. Election day is here. Hope you've enjoyed the campaign. I know people have enjoyed meeting you on the campaign.
Awesome.
Stay with us. This is where it continues in a moment.